from Mount Sac. Did anyone from Mount Sac? Yeah, I went to Citrus. How many transfer students do you have in the room? All right, cool. And so again, they'll get into this a lot more in their talk today about the different jobs that they've had in their career path. But we're really excited to have two wonderful Latina women representing today for the social work alumni guest speakers. So go ahead and take it away. Oh, yeah, you can use that. I think you might be able to use this if you click. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to start off today. I remember, my name is Sarah. My name is Melissa. And we wanted to share our journey through social work, but also we wanted to kind of explain what social work is. I remember when I was an undergrad, I was doing research on social work, and I feel like I couldn't pinpoint what it was, and it's because it's so broad and there's so many different jobs underneath it. So that's why we are going to kind of talk about what social work is first. Okay, so we're going to start off with what's in a name. So what are some thoughts or images that come to mind when you think of social work? I know that a lot of media kind of depicts it in a certain way through movies, TV. So what are some thoughts that kind of come to your mind when you think of a social worker? Case holders? Case holders, yes, definitely. A helper of society. A helper of society, very good.
This might be more positive. Positively skewed.
That's a good thing. You guys have a positive view of social work. A lot of times, actually, when I presented it to my parents that I wanted to get a master's in social work, the first thing that they thought was, "You're going to take children away from their homes?" And I see a lot of that. And I think that's the way that it's depicted, and that's just one section of social work. And the funny thing is that a lot of the social workers that work at DCFS, which is the Department of Children and Family Services, where they take children out of a home that's going to be unsafe, a lot of them actually do not have a degree in social work. They may have a degree, like a bachelor's maybe in English or sociology, but they don't have an actual degree in social work. So that's something that we wanted to kind of distinguish, because social workers are highly trained professionals that hold a degree in social work. So that could be at the bachelor's level, master's level, or doctoral level.
And when you do apply for social work positions, whether it's individual therapy, group therapy, or family therapy, you're always going to be required to have some type of degree, because you need to be equipped to deal with really high intense cases that you're going to be working with your individual clients and patients.
And for many years, the social work field has been pushing for title protection, and what that means is that if you call yourself a social worker, you should have a degree in social work. So they've been pushing this for years. Hopefully in our lifetime we'll see it, but maybe we'll get there one day. Okay, the job market. So according to the U.S. Department of Labor Bureau statistics, social work is one of the fastest growing careers in the United States. The profession is expected to grow by 19% between 2012 and 2022. I think that this is important to note, because these type of jobs are always going to be around. There's always going to be people that need our support, that they're going to have mental health needs. So it's a stable type of position. Even during the recession, there was jobs for social workers. Also, I noticed in my agency that I work at and other places, there's not as many LCSWs or MSWs compared to MFTs. Do you guys know what MFTs are? Marriage and Family Therapists. And I talked to someone about that, and I found out that actually there is almost double the amount of MFTs out there that there is social workers. So for us, it's good because we're kind of in demand. Currently, there is about 41,000 MFTs in California compared to about 24,000 LCSWs. So it's just something to note in terms of if you're trying to figure out what direction to go.
Okay. So with what we do, we empower, we advocate, we promote social change, support, and educate. These are the core values of what social work embodies. When you empower people, people are coming to you powerless and helpless. So you are the one to really give their power back by problem solving with them, by providing them choices, and most importantly, to emphasize the right to self-determination, to know that they can make choices to a healthier path in their lives. With advocacy, we are their representatives, we are their voices, because sometimes in crisis, they don't know who to turn to or even where to go. So by becoming an advocate, we are their source of being able to push them to whatever goals or to whatever their needs are. And in regards to social change, my favorite saying that we heard throughout our social work program is pretty much planting the seed of change. So if you're able to give one person or a group of people some type of hope, some type of positive to propel them forward to living a healthier lifestyle, you can do so much with just showing kindness, by educating them, and most importantly, equipping them what they need to do in order to get onto the healthy path that every individual deserves. In regards to support, it's so important that we encourage, we empathize, we validate, and most importantly, we come from a non-judgmental stance, because during their struggling times or them being in crisis, you know, they're in a negative environment or they're not given the best support, and that's where we come in, that we're able to validate what they're going through and to treat them like human beings. And then lastly, what we're trying to do in our field every day is just to educate, and we feel that prevention and intervention is key within social work, because we want to make sure that when we're preventing, we are preventing a problem from getting worse, or if there is a crisis, we're intervening so where it won't progress into something further.
Next we'll go into jobs and social work. So like we said, it's very broad. There's tons of populations that you can work with. So we're going to start from macro to micro. So starting from macro, so administration, that could mean being on the management side of a nonprofit. A lot of our CEOs at nonprofits are social workers, because they understand the macro side of running a business, basically. There's also policymakers. So if you're really into advocating, we have social workers actually in the government level, pushing for policies. And then there's program development. So if you feel that there's like a need for different populations, you know, you can kind of understand that. You can sometimes start on the micro level, working individually to see what the needs are, and then later on in your career, you can go to macro and say, you know, I saw that this was a need, and therefore I'm going to develop a program. So I think that's kind of unique with social work, is that you get both aspects. And then there's also research. So there's people out there that on the doctoral level that are doing research on what interventions work with clients, what type of programs benefit people the best, and that then will direct kind of policies and how things are implemented. Next, we have child and family social work. So that's what we were talking about before. That's like the typical, what people think about social work is the social workers that work at Department of Children and Family Services. So they basically remove children from unsafe situations if there's abuse or neglect. They do a lot of case management. There's also a side of that social work where they work with adoptive families. So they go to homes that there's a prospective family that wants to adopt, and they can do a home study, or they can also provide support for foster families while the child's in the home and the parents are working to get back custody of their children. Then there's clinical social work. That's predominantly what I've done. So that's like Melissa was saying, when you have your master's, you can do therapy. I actually didn't know that going into this program. I wanted to do more of the macro. Then I did the individual one-on-one, and I loved it, and I kind of stayed there. So most people in clinical social work, they're gathering their hours in first maybe 2 to 3 years, and then they take a test to get licensed, and then you no longer have to work under someone that is licensed. So you can work with children and families, you can work with the adult population, and some people do go into private practice, and so that's, you know, getting your own office, then coming to you. You can get clients from insurance panels, so that's an avenue to go as well.
And then for medical social work, you have hospice, which typically hospice are for, you know, individuals who are struggling with end-of-life matters. Typically, sure that they're comfortable, and definitely assisting the family, because usually during those times, families aren't really able to make maybe the best decisions or appropriate decisions, or they're just really overwhelmed with all the stresses. So that's where we would come in, is to really help organize everything for the family and to know that we're with them every step of the way. With gerontology, you're working with the older adult population, so common issues with older adults is depression and anxiety, dealing with older life situations, and even now what we're seeing grandparents or even great-grandparents getting back into the parental role, so just really helping them be supportive during that time. Also too, since there's a lot of health complications and there's a lot of admissions to the hospitals, so this is where you would help them with discharge planning, when they go home, giving them home health referrals, Meals on Wheels, any health equipment that they may need, medication assistance, and even placement, so going to long-term placements such as assisted livings or even nursing homes. With military and veteran social worker, you're dealing with either active duty military or you're dealing with the vets. And of course, common issues that come across is the diagnosis of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. So you're helping the individual, you're helping the families, and you're helping the children kind of adjust to the lifestyle, adjust to the behaviors. You're also dealing with soldiers who are either going on deployment or coming home from deployment, and having them adjust to their new life, as well as what their families have been doing without them. Also, struggling issues such as suicide, homelessness, substance abuse. So there's a lot of career paths that you can go to with either working at specific VA hospitals or VA clinics.
And next we have school-based social work. So that is focused more on helping a child improve their academic performance. So sometimes there are things that get in the way of a child performing well in school. Maybe they have ADHD and they can't sit still, or maybe they're not being compliant to the teachers, or maybe there's bullying involved. So a school-based social worker would focus more on helping them reduce those behaviors, and it's a very collaborative approach. We would work with the teachers, with the principals. You would do some work with the parents, but it's not the same as clinical social work where you're kind of going maybe more to family therapy. It's more based on helping the child within the school. And this is definitely a coveted position because, like teachers, you get the summers off, so that's something that people really love. So.
And then the last one is psychiatric social worker, which that is my specialty. So you're dealing with acute patients who come into a psychiatric hospital or a psychiatric unit. You're dealing with the heart of mental illness and or dual diagnosis, which is both a mental illness that accompanies a substance abuse issue. These are patients that are coming into the hospital that are on a legal hold. So pretty much their rights are taken away for X amount of days because they were either danger to self or gravely disabled. Or there are some people who are struggling with thoughts of suicide or need medication management, and they can freely, voluntarily go into the hospital. And being in the hospital, you're dealing with their admission needs, their discharge needs, case management needs, and definitely emphasizing the importance of outpatient referrals as well as medication education to make sure that there's less recidivism of coming back in and out of the hospital.
So Melissa's going to go into her journey first on how she got into social work.
Okay, so my journey began in 2003 when I graduated high school and enrolled at Mount Sac Community College. When I entered school, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I had thoughts of becoming a nurse, but I didn't feel confident about my decision. All I knew was I wanted to help people and really get to know who they were. I saw an education counselor, and with what I was describing, she directed me towards human service major. She described human services as the helping industry that encompasses multiple professions that aid in individuals, families, communities. I immediately took an interest and began taking classes in psychology, sociology, political science, etc. These classes increased my interest in human and societal behaviors. My counselor definitely pointed me in the right direction because Cal State Fullerton had a major in human services. When I transferred, I took more classes here, and the classes that were offered were case management, crisis management, theories, cultural ethics, aging and development, as well as immersing yourself in internships. Taking these courses confirmed that I wanted to help individuals who were struggling in a crisis and really understand why people function in a particular way. With everything I was learning, I was trying to really narrow down the use of my experience in education to help others. And I felt like during that time, the universe heard me because I was given a flyer about the social work program here. I followed the sign and went to the orientation for the program. And the speaker described what social work was, the various jobs and populations you can work with, and how a master's can open a door to wonderful opportunities and develop a better understanding of mental health. Hearing all that, I finally made a connection that I wanted to be a social worker. I knew that this was my calling, and what really hit home for me were the professors and presenters telling everyone that you could be an agent of change. I applied for the social work program and got accepted. It was a pretty intense program that laid the foundation of mental health, but also it taught me how to be a professional and how I could make a significant difference in many lives. And receiving my master's in social work, I think, was the best decision that I ever made. And during my time in the master's program, as well as my career as a social worker, I have learned truly what social work is. Being able to help people in a crisis, linking clients to resources in the community, educating clients and patients and their families about mental illness and how stressors could affect one's functioning. Being a person who wholeheartedly listens to someone who needs that validation, that assurance, understanding, and encouragement. And again, being an advocate and representative for your clients. And most importantly, being that change agent in the community. In social work, you wear so many hats and are placed in many different roles, which it helps you gain knowledge about diagnoses, medications, community resources, family dynamics, and most importantly, law and ethics. Overall, you are that one person that people will come to in crisis, and our job is to stabilize and empower our clients and patients. I chose social work because I knew I always wanted to help people, but really didn't know how until I went through my educational path that guided me to social work. Not only do I get to help and assist people on a daily basis, but I'm able to be a positive influence that is able to plant the seed of recovery and hope. If I'm able to change or help one person, that's what makes social work worth it. Receiving an education is really important for social work. The degrees that I received were an associate's in social and behavioral sciences at Mount SAC, and then a bachelor's in human services at Cal State Fullerton, and then receiving a master's here at Cal State Fullerton. With these degrees, and it gave me access to books and classes that taught me about human development theories such as cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, family systems, dual diagnosis, medications, diagnoses, treatment modalities and planning, trauma, case management, psychiatric holds, research, and policies. Having an education gives you a whole wealth of knowledge. Before graduating, I had internships. I was interning at the Brea Senior Center, an adult daycare center called A Day Away, David and Margaret Group Home, and the Whole Child Clinic. And these internships definitely prepared me for real life issues that I was soon going to face with working with the real world. Once I graduated, I had many social work jobs. My first job was at an eating disorder clinic called Valenta Inc. in Rancho Cucamonga. This is where I worked with anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorders as a clinical therapist. Then my next job was at Canyon Ridge Hospital in Chino, where I was both a group therapist and case manager in my first psych hospital. Then I moved my job search here to Orange County, and I received 2 per diem positions at 2 psych hospitals. One was Anaheim Global Medical Center and College Hospital in Costa Mesa. And during this time, I was actually studying and prepping for my LCSW exam. And I was very fortunate that I passed, because once I passed, then I started looking for jobs that required an LCSW position. And I was grateful that I found one. It was a hospital in Santa Ana called Royale Treatment Residential Center. And I was actually their first LCSW hire. And my position in that hospital was working again with acute patients, but also long-term care patients who would live in that hospital for about 3 to 6 months. So as I was working there, I had a friend tell me an opportunity about an LCSW position at Mission Hospital Laguna Beach. So I said, why not? So I went to that interview, and based on the recommendation and referral from my friend and how the interview went, I got the job, and that's where I'm currently at. So as you can tell, since the beginning of my career, I've been working with acute patients, mostly psychiatric patients. And I've been working with psych patients for about 5 years. So people tell me, how can you do that for 5 years? And I say, well, it's a challenging position. However, it's also rewarding because you get to help people at their most vulnerable times, and you get to assist them with getting back on their feet. And you have the ability to show your social work abilities of being empathetic and compassionate, non-judgmental, and get to ask somebody, what can I do to help you? And again, listening is just such a huge component of our job, and that's about the best therapy that anybody can get, is the listening component. So as mentioned earlier, I work at Mission Hospital Laguna Beach, and I am a licensed clinical social worker there. I work on their behavioral health unit. I run groups. I run healthy habits and stress management, and I have a caseload of up to 10 patients. I work with people who are a danger to self, danger to others, and gravely disabled, along with getting exposed to diagnoses such as major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder 1 and 2, schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, and substance abuse. And with these patients, when they come into the unit, I do their psychosocial, I do their case management needs, what they need to do in order to get healthy, and then do their discharge planning. I'm also a representative for the psychiatrist when patients are placed on additional holds. So when patients come in, they're on a 5150, which they're in the hospital for 3 days. 5250 is 14 days, 5270 is 30 days. And I also follow up on writs, so when patients want to contest their hold, I do the paperwork for them. In regards to RESIS, this is the doctor's paperwork where a patient is refusing medication. I justify for the doctor why a patient should be on medication, as well as conservatorship, which these are the doctors that deem a patient that they can no longer take care of themselves and are considered gravely disabled. And I also work with the families if patients allow me. I am a first generation Mexican American, and receiving my master's was not only meaningful, but so rewarding. And I graduated here in 2010, and at that time, there were only 2% of Hispanics who actually earned a master's degree. Being Mexican American and hearing this, it really validated the reason why I wanted to pursue a higher education and inspire people of all ages and nationalities to do the same. Not only are you educating yourself, but you would be making an impact on the clientele you're going to be working with. And in the hospitals, I'm seeing more Hispanics and more cultures struggling with mental illness. And education is needed, again, for prevention and education. Because mental illness doesn't affect one population. trying to figure out who you want to be and what you want to do. And right now, you are looking on the outside in. And this is a perfect opportunity to further pursue an education. Education is key, and it not only helps you obtain a job, but it helps you grow mentally, it helps you to become more knowledgeable, it opens your mind to different ideas, perspectives, and opinions, and it challenges you to be a better person, and to try to educate the people you will be serving. Obtaining an education is hard work. It'll take time, much sacrifice, and 100% of your dedication, but in the end, all of you will know it is worth it. Every single one of you has the determination to obtain an education and earn your degree and make a difference in someone's life or in the community. In the words of Mark Twain, the two most important days of your life is the day that you were born and the day you find out why. This is a sign of you being in this room that each person is on the path to something great. Thank you.
So just like Melissa, I'm a first generation college student as well. I know I heard a lot of you guys say that you guys are first generation. Everybody? Oh, everyone. That's why this is here, right? My mom immigrated from Nicaragua when she was 18 years old, and then my dad's family is from Mexico. So education was always pushed in our home. It was something that was a given because they felt that that's how you succeed in life. However, it was kind of being the first person, it was kind of hard to navigate. So my brother was the first one to graduate college, and I followed after him, but he stopped there. So when I wanted to get my master's, it was something that I really had to kind of explore and ask a lot of questions because it was really like uncharted territory. To give you a little background, like Erin said, I went to UCLA. It was a great experience, and I actually went in there as pre-med. I don't know what I was thinking, but I went in there in biochemistry, and since a little girl, I wanted to be a pediatrician. So I really tried my hardest, but classes were just really hard for me, and I started to volunteer at UCLA, and I was doing case management in the front office while people went to go see the doctor. And I quickly realized the heart behind wanting to be a doctor was to help people. And I saw that the doctors were only having quick interactions with the patients, and I wanted more. And I actually really loved the case management role that I was doing. I was talking to people, hearing their stories, hearing their journeys, and so it was really something that I was like, maybe this whole pre-med is not a good fit. So I decided to change, and I moved on to getting a degree in sociology, and I absolutely loved it. I love learning about human behavior, and it just felt like it just came so easy to me. And usually people in this field, you kind of know you're in a good fit because people already come to you as a friend. They're usually coming to you with their problems, and it's because you have those empathetic skills. So in my junior year of college, I started to intern at an agency with working with adults with intellectual disabilities. And so I really loved the programs that they were putting on for them because I felt that they were empowering them, giving them job skills, and it was something that I really wanted to pursue. So I met with one of the management there, and I found out that she had a master's in social work, and I was like, oh, okay, I haven't really heard about this, so I kind of looked into it. I looked into master's in social work, I looked into PsyD, and I also looked into MMT, and so I wanted to see what was like a good fit. And after kind of exploring them all, I really gravitated towards the whole idea of empowerment and advocacy. That really was kind of the heart of what I wanted to do. So I decided to apply, and me and Melissa went to we went to get our master's in social work. And something that I learned while in the program was it's really important to kind of pick the right internship, because when you go on to get your first job, they're really looking at the experience that you have in your internship. So a lot of times if people want to work in a hospital setting, they're going to look if you have that experience. They're not going to hire someone that hasn't had that experience. I had, my first year, I interned at school-based, and then the second year I worked at a residential treatment facility for children. And so going through those two internships, I realized I really love working with children and families. And I think once again, that was the heart of me wanting to be a pediatrician, was to work with children. Straight after grad school, I got my first job. I worked in intensive mental health in the home with children and families called FSP, Full Service Partnership. And it was very intensive. Sometimes I'd be in the home two days a week. It almost felt like you become part of the family because there's so many crises. A lot of times I was having clients be put on hold because they're a danger to self or danger to others. A lot of times they were having maybe behavior issues, being suspended, expelled. And then a lot of times what you see with female clients, they internalize their feelings, so they're more depressed. So those are the ones that are going to be maybe having suicidal ideation or the kind of behaviors. So it was a great experience. It was 4 years of intensive work. I loved the aspect of family work. That's really where my heart is because you can't work with just a child. You really have to change the family environment because a lot of times the issues that the kids were having, if they had anger issues, is because there was a lot of trauma in the past that involved the family. So through that experience, I realized this is the career that I wanted to kind of stay on. I wanted to work with children and families. And so after 4 years of intensive work, I thought it was time to move on to something else. I think that position was great. When you're young, you have a lot of energy because there were long hours, sometimes into the night. But I wanted something a little bit more scheduled and routine. So I became a MAP assessor. And what that is you do court-ordered assessments for children that have been detained by DCFS. And so you're bringing the mental health aspect to DCFS. I would go to have meetings with social workers and the whole family would be around, the client, the family members, maybe even social support like grandma or maybe an uncle, and we would talk about the mental health needs of the child and look at not only the mental health portion, but maybe they haven't seen a doctor in 10 years. That's going to affect the child's ability to function. So it was a great opportunity to really educate those other social workers at DCFS. I really loved it because you get to go in there at a very vulnerable time. The children are removed from the home and they need someone to talk to. They need to know that they're not alone, that they're going to see mom and dad again. So it's just a great opportunity to really be the first face of mental health to these children. And then after I did the assessments, then we would kind of move them on to more long-term therapy. It was more of just kind of going in there. I really enjoy working with children and families because you see generation after generation, the same cycles happening. You'll see substance abuse kind of being passed down from generation to generation, or you'll see depression that's kind of just following through the family line, and so you get to help kind of break that unhealthy pattern of behavior. So currently I am in more of a management position. I'm the referral manager at Halfway Sigmores, which is a nonprofit organization. And so I supervise case managers. I also keep relationships with community partners, Department of Mental Health. That's where we get our referrals and our funding from. So I really enjoy this position because now I'm getting to see the case managers grow. Before it was like the clients growing, now I get to kind of supervise people and see them grow. Because I'm not seeing clients anymore, I decided that I wanted to open up a private practice on the side because I really miss that interaction. I want to keep my skills growing, so I opened up a private practice about 4 months ago. So I do that on the side, I do it on Saturdays, and so it's been so great because it's a different aspect of therapy. I think before, when I was working more with crisis intervention, there's so much going on with the family, there's so many case management needs that you can't really get to the root of the issue until maybe like a year into it, because when you can't pay your bills, when there's no food in the refrigerator, you can't really talk about your feelings, right? So with private practice, the people that are coming in are not having those issues, so now we're really going into like deeper therapeutic work that I didn't get a chance to do sometimes with the other families. So it's just a different aspect of therapy, and that's what I like about social work is that it's so broad. Like we keep on saying, there's so much that you can do within that. So kind of like what Melissa said, I think it's so important that we as Latinas and other people of color really go to get your grad degree because really that's how you make a change in policy and programs, because we need a seat at the table. And to have a seat at the table, you have to have a master's degree because you are an expert in your field. And I remember my first job at my first nonprofit, sometimes I felt a little frustrated at times because I felt that the management were not reflective of the clients culturally. So sometimes there wasn't culturally sensitive care. And so I really hope that, as more Latinas, as more people of color get degrees, we can have a seat at the table and make policy change to really reflect what our families need, you know. So I really encourage you, no matter what direction you go, definitely get your grad degree, because you are then an expert in your field, and people look to you to make changes. So that's all I have.
All right, so again, can we give a round of applause to both of our guest speakers? I think that was really, I'm trying to find the right word for it, but I think it's like really impactful to really hear like what you have been through and the important work that you are doing in the community directly with individuals and families, and even on the systemic level in some cases, right? And I feel like it was also really cool because it was also very informative about like all the different things that you can be doing as a social worker, right? Did anyone like hear something that they didn't know about before today? All right, cool. So now I would like to turn it over to you all. Hopefully you've written down a few questions. If you don't, I do have some, but go ahead and get started.
Question, like, what did you mean by having a seat at the table?
I think, so when you work for a nonprofit, a lot of the changes that happen come from the top. So like the CEOs, the management, they're really directing how programs are developed, or how they're implemented. And so when you have a master's degree, you can move up to that point. Whereas if you have a bachelor's, you are kind of have to stay within a certain role. So by getting your master's, you can have a seat at the table of management where you can make change. And even beyond like a nonprofit, if you have a master's, you can work in the government, you can do research, you can do a lot bigger things if you have a master's degree. Does that kind of make sense? It's kind of like a climb. It's a climb that you can achieve by getting your master's.
And also by being able to be in that administrative or management role. I mean, because I see it at the hospital I work at, the top people are just worried about how are we going to get money. So it's definitely financial driven, and then being able to be a social worker in that type of role, you're also really advocating for your patients about the needs that they need in order to be healthy, prosperous individuals, and not so much focus on the figures. I mean, at the end of the day, the finances are important, but that shouldn't always come first, or that shouldn't cut back or decrease services to this much needed populations that we work with.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to keep in mind that like whatever field you all end up in, you know, that's why I'm so passionate about the Allied Health Academy, because we do need all of your voices influencing these things, right? You come from certain backgrounds and certain communities that might not have their voices and concerns represented maybe throughout the organization, especially at the top where, you know, it's no secret that most CEOs, most folks at the top of organizations are white males, right? And so having a different perspective, you know, as an Asian American male, as a Latina, you know, as a queer person, as a person with disabilities, as an immigrant, you know, like these different perspectives may not be considered when the decisions are being made. So, yeah, thank you for mentioning that and explaining that. See, you look like you have a question. Do you have a question?
I was wondering about the social workers for the school area. How does that work? Does each school have like a social worker, or each district, or?
It really depends district per district. It depends sometimes on the grants that they get. Sometimes social work positions at schools, they'll last for like 3 years and then the funding kind of closes. Whereas some schools in need, you know, there's always a social worker there. There's usually like a family resource center in some of the lower socioeconomic areas where there's always a social worker there. So it really depends on what the needs are for the district. But I feel like predominantly in LA, there's a lot of positions that are out there for that. And just something to note too, if you are thinking to go to school-based social work, when you're in the actual program, you want to have a school-based internship because there's an additional degree, not a degree, it's like
It's a credential.
A credential, PPSC, that you have to do an internship in your last year, your second year, where you're collecting hours. So that is something really important to know. I wish that I would have done my school-based internship the second year. I did my first year, so I couldn't get the certificate for it. So,
What are some of the strengths and limitations of the master's program here at Fullerton that you saw?
I think at least the first thing that came to my mind was the professors. The professors are definitely well equipped and well educated to be teaching the classes that they do. And I don't know how it's like now because I know the program here has expanded, but what all of our generation and previous generations before, they really like the intimate setting that you get to have. So especially with the field classes or the internship classes, it's definitely, even though you're in a classroom of maybe like 16 or 20 people, you still get really like that individualized help. And the professors here do care about you. I know we've had some classmates that they were maybe struggling with the workload or they weren't getting the passing grade. So the professors here sat down with you and say, okay, how can we help you succeed and be successful to graduate with everybody? And now that this program is credentialed, and now when you do apply for your future license, Cal State Fullerton, we're there with the school. So definitely when you get your license, it's not going to be any issues.
Yeah, everything that Melissa said, I would agree. So USC has a social work program, but every year they have about 300 people that come in, whereas when we came in there was only about 20, and I know that it's expanded here at Cal State Fullerton, but it's way smaller than 300. And I think that, especially for social work or any type of like counseling program, you want it more intimate because you want to be able to like ask questions and learn. And I feel that the professors in our program were very accommodating. Like if there was ever questions, they would modify, whatever we were learning in